Alright, so you probably already know how I'm gonna be starting this video. Let's get the video prepared for the CCHI to 100 likes for the release of MIP 21, the first video in the new season of MIP, Medical Interpretation and Practice. We have 20 of those videos in the making. We already have some of them, and we just finished the first one of the series, number 21, for you to practice. And we want to share it with you guys, but we want to make sure that you guys are just as hyped as we are, and we are asking you to give us 100 likes. Let's do this. We can do this together. We can get the video prepared for CCHI to 100 likes. We already have 32 likes the last time that I checked, just like 5 minutes ago. So we still have 68 likes to go. I think that is very doable, very doable. And there are more exciting news. Once we post that video, we are going to ask you to go ahead and post comments to this video about what you think. And one of those comments is two of those comments, I'm sorry, is going to be chosen randomly for exclusive links to the video MIP 22, which the winners are going to get a chance to record their interpretations to those videos and send them over to us at Interpret Your World so we can give them some feedback. So we are very, very excited about this. We hope you are as well. So go ahead and give us those likes for the prepare for the CCHI video, which I already posted a card up here, and I am going to post a link in the description as well. So hello and welcome to Unwind Sessions, where right after my shift I give the highlights of my workday and answer any questions that might have been asked at a previous session. My name is Juan. I am an English Spanish medical video remote consecutive interpreter with over 4 years of experience. Today is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021, and today I took a total of 36 sessions. Like always, a mix between video sessions and audio sessions. Always more video sessions. I had a pretty long video session today. It was about how long was it? Over an hour. And then I had another session that was about an hour at the end of my shift. It actually went like half an hour after my shift, and I had a meeting with my teacher from school. There's a project that I need to start, and I needed to do that. And as soon as I got off the phone, I thought that call was never going to end. And as soon as I got off the phone, I got the phone call from my teacher. So everything went perfect and smooth. That was great. Another highlight that I want to share with you guys today is that it turns out that a gentleman had an allergy to nickel. Now, nickel the element, not nickel the coin, right? And well, what do you know? I didn't know how to say nickel in Spanish, so it was not a brain fart or anything. It's just something that I just didn't know how to say, right? I mean, I don't usually deal with nickel every day, or I mean, probably in batteries, right? Nickel cadmium batteries and that stuff. But other than that, I mean, I was just drawing a blank. I'm pretty sure I've heard it before, but for some reason it just didn't compute. I didn't know what it was, and I had to let the provider know. I told the provider, I'm sorry, ma'am, but I do not know the translation for nickel, and I am going to have to look that up. Why did I tell her that? Because I was looking it up and I was spelling it wrong and I couldn't find it. So I just gave up and I just told the lady the truth, and there was no problem. So I went ahead, I looked up the translation, I gave the translation, and the gentleman said it was true, and that was that. So let me give you the definition for nickel in case you are wondering. On the spelling is Nickel, by the way, in English, and the translation is the same, nickel. So nickel, nickel in Spanish, and you spell it in Spanish Niquel. I'm sorry I didn't write it. I always do, but like this session is not right after my work. Right after my work, I had to take that phone call, And right now, this is the session after the phone call. So the definition for nickel: nickel is a chemical element with the symbol Ni and an atomic number 28. It is a silvery white lustrous metal with a slight golden tinge. Nickel belongs to the transition metals, and it is hard and ductile. I don't even know what ductile is. I'll look that up. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So it's pretty much an element, and there are nickel cadmium batteries. So nickel is an element in everybody's life, I'm pretty sure. With just like regular disposable batteries, I think. Let me see. I'll tell you right now. These are nickel. I don't know. No, it doesn't say it. What about the rechargeable ones? I think these are lithium. Yep, this is nickel. So there you go. Nickel is a pretty important element in our life, right? I can't believe I didn't know the translation for that. But anyways, moving on to what you came here to see, which is the 10 must-know medical instruments. Now, before I give you the list, I have to let you know that speculum should have been on this list, but I didn't include it here since I already included it on the OBGYN vocabulary. So go ahead and look at that video if you haven't done so you can see what a speculum is. It is a very important tool that you must know. So having said that, let's get to this very important list. All of the definitions are from ipu.co.il, practicalclinicalskills.com, medicinenet.com, good old Google. And I did not know about this next website. Is medical-dictionary.thefreedictionary.com. Now, I didn't know that existed, and that is great. I was looking at it, and it's just like basically a dictionary with all of the medical terminology. So it is awesome. Go ahead and look at that free dictionary, medical-dictionary.thefreedictionary.com. Go ahead and give that a look. It's a lifesaver. I wish I would have known about that since a long time ago. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be my go-to dictionary now. Another definition from cancer.gov, Merriam-Webster, the dictionary website.com, and kidshealth.org. So let's get started with this list. So for word number 1, intravenous catheter, which a Spanish translation is catéter intravenoso. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and I have never heard any nurse or any medical provider say intravenous catheter. They don't say that. What they say is just plain old IV, which I put there, IV. But if you're going to be interpreting to Spanish, you're out of luck, and you have to say catéter intravenoso. There is no shortcut there. I don't know about any other languages, so let's go with the definition. IV cannulation or IV catheter is the process by which the cannula is inserted into a vein in order to provide venous access for the medical professional. This is vitally important as it allows them to provide a number of vital roles that otherwise would be close to impossible. So a lot of times when a person goes into the ER and there is something going on, they are most likely going to put an IV in them. And they put an IV to give IV fluids, to take out blood. Well, sometimes they don't take out blood from an IV, but sometimes they do. Sometimes they just put a catheter there just in case that they happen to need it. So there's a lot of reasons why they could use a catheter, and this is one of those words that this is a must that you learn and make sure you know it before you start interpreting. So, and it's just gonna be called a plain IV. And a fun fact about me, for some reason, catheter was a word that was impossible for me to um, to pronounce. I don't know why. Like I can pronounce it easily now, catheter, but I had to sit in front of a mirror for like a half an hour just saying the word catheter, 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 because for some reason it just didn't connect up here. Also, like interpreter, I think is that thing, right? Catheter, interpreter, because I had a problem with interpreter, as well. And I already said this story, but I had to practice, and it's in my spiel every time in my introduction. I have to say Spanish interpreter. So, I mean, I was definitely. I had that mindset that I had to say it correctly, so you could see me in front of a mirror just saying interpreter, 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 interpreter until I got it correct, and now I can say it like nothing. So also catheter was one of those words. So in case you happen to have a word like that, don't feel bad about it. Just practice it until you get it. All right. Moving on to number 2. Sphygmomanometer, also known as a blood pressure cuff. In English is called, in Spanish, I'm sorry. Here it is, you can see it. It's sphygmomanometro, blood pressure cuff, sphygmomanometer. Now the definition for a blood pressure cuff or sphygmomanometer. A sphygmomanometer is a device that measures blood pressure. It composes of an inflatable rubber cuff which is wrapped around the arm. A measuring device indicates the cuff's pressure. A bulb inflates the cuff and a valve releases pressure. So I don't know if everyone is familiar with that. I am familiar with this because I remember when I was a little kid and I used to live in the US, every time we went to Walmart, I used to go into those machines or to any pharmacy, really, any place where there was a machine to take your blood pressure. I would just go directly to that and I would take my blood pressure. I don't know why, but I am very familiar with that. So this is one of those things that you are going to have to get familiar with as well, because in every doctor visit they are going to use a sphygmomanometer to go ahead and take the person's blood pressure. The good thing is that I have never, only once in my whole interpreting career have I heard a provider say sphygmomanometer, but the rest of the time they will say blood pressure cuff. So that's a more manageable word. It's easier to say, right? Sphygmomanometer, it's a little hard. And actually, sphygmomanometer is one of those words that I had to learn. Like what I used to do when I had a whiteboard, I would just, like, for example, if this was my whiteboard, I would just write like words that I wanted to learn on top, and I would just use the rest of the space to work. And that was one of the words that was on there for a long time, and I had to learn it. Sphygmomanometro, and I already know it, and I know how to write it and everything. And the good thing is that in English they're just gonna say blood pressure cuff, but in Spanish there's no way around it. It's sphygmomanometro. There is just no other way to say it. And I don't know about any other languages, but that's that. All right, number 3, thermometer. Oh, here it is. Thermometer. Oh, here it is. Yes, thermometer. And then you can see after the little arrows, between the arrows, says termómetro, the Spanish translation. So the definition for a thermometer is a device used to measure the temperature of gaseous, liquid, or solid matter, or of a chemical reaction such as fire. Temperature measurements are important to a wide range of activities, including industry, scientific research, and healthcare. In healthcare, thermometers are used to measure the temperature of the human body. They include the following types: oral thermometers placed under the tongue, rectal thermometers placed within the rectum, multi-purpose thermometers, those that can be placed under the tongue or in the rectum or the armpit. of course they clean them off very well. Eardrum thermometers, those placed in the ear. Basal thermometers, highly sensitive thermometers placed under the tongue or in the rectum to measure slight temperature changes, indicating that ovulation has taken place in the woman. So there is a lot of different type of thermometers, and honestly, like, you don't really I'm sorry, you don't really need to know the types, but for the most part they'll say thermometer or rectal thermometer to specify that it's a rectal thermometer. Other than that, they'll just call it a thermometer. So that is pretty easy. I have a story about thermometers. Whenever a lady walks into a doctor's office and tells a doctor that her child had a fever, the first thing that the doctor is going to ask, what do you think it is? Did you take the temperature with a thermometer? Now, 90% of the time, that lady is going to say, no, I did not use a thermometer, but the baby felt hot or the child felt hot. Now, I don't know about you, but there is no way that I can tell a child's temperature from just the hand, just from the hand, and there is like a specific number, like 100. If it's like above 100.4, that is considered a fever. So if you're giving Tylenol or whatever, Tylenol or ibuprofen, ibuprofen or acetaminophen, I should say, no brands, right? I already messed up on that one. Ibuprofen or acetaminophen, when the child doesn't need it because they're probably hot but they don't have a temperature, like, that's wrong. And that's a problem that I have with my wife a lot. She just feels the child and they're hot, and I tell her, well, we got to get a thermometer, right? And we can never find thermometers in my house. We have one, but I don't know where they keep them, and we just can never ever find them. So that is like a constant struggle, because of course I have this medical interpretation background, and I see that issue happens, and that happens with me as well and my wife. So that is like crazy. That is, I don't know how else to describe it, but I hate it when that happens because it's something that happens commonly in my work, and then it happens commonly at home, and it's like, why is it happening at home if I have all of the tools that I need for that to not take place? But anyways, I don't want to bore you with my personal stuff, so let's get to it. Number 4, there it is, stethoscope, and the Spanish translation, estetoscopio. Alright, and a stethoscope is a medical instrument for listening to the action of someone's heart beating, typically having a small disc-shaped resonator that is placed against the chest and 2 tubes connected to the earpieces. So that is like the classical doctor instrument, right? You are, most of the time you're gonna see them, a doctor that is carrying a stethoscope around his neck, either by the earpieces or just around his neck. So that is something that we are all familiar with, and if you didn't know what that was called, well, that's a stethoscope. All right, and number 5, nasal cannula. Cannula nasal is the Spanish translation. And nasal cannula is a tubing used to deliver oxygen at levels from 1 to 6 liters per minute. The nasal prongs of the cannula extend approximately 1 centimeter into each nares and are connected to the common tube, which is then connected to the oxygen source. It is used to treat conditions in which a slightly enriched oxygen content is needed, such as emphysema. The exact percentage of oxygen delivered to a patient varies with respiratory rate and other factors. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know what nares is, but if I had to guess, I'm thinking that nares is the hole in the nose, right? Can't believe I forgot how to say it. The nostril. the hole in the nose. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a nostril. So we've all seen the nasal cannulas in movies, right? Like sometimes when the patient is in the hospital, you see them with like these little two prongs and this little tube that wraps around their ears. So that is a nasal cannula, and that is to provide oxygen to the patients, like if it's already been defined, right? All right, and number 6, Nasogastric Tube. In Spanish is sonda nasogástrica. Por favor, no me vayan a andar diciendo tubo nasogástrico. And that was just a reminder to all the Spanish speakers to not say tubo or tube when they actually say tube, because a tube is just a regular old tube. But if we're talking about a nasogastric tube, it should actually, the literal translation should be nasogastric probe. And so just a reminder, let's see what a NG tube is. Oh, and you're never gonna hear nasogastric tube, they're gonna say NG tube. So whenever you hear NG tube, you know that it's a nasogastric tube, and I am about to define it. This is a tube that is inserted through the nose, down the throat and esophagus, and into the stomach. It can be used to give drugs, liquid and liquid food, or used to remove substances from the stomach. Giving food through a nasogastric tube is a type of enteral nutrition, also called gastric feeding tube and NG tube. All right, so today I had a session where a gentleman had just that, an NG tube that was into his stomach, that was draining all of the content of his stomach because he had a surgery, and they needed to get all of the contents into his stomach, out of his stomach, so he could recover better and he would not be nauseous and vomit and have all kinds of bad stuff. But for the most part, whenever they use an NG tube, it'll be mostly for feeding, but it can be used for draining as well, as mentioned in the definition. All right, number 7, pulse oximeter. And this is the definition, the translation right here, which is oxímetro de pulso. There we go. And the definition for this one is I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with a pulse oximeter because of the pandemic, right? If not, a pulse oximeter is a device that measures the oxygen saturation of arterial blood in a subject by utilizing a sensor attached typically to a finger, toe, or ear to determine the percentage of oxyhemoglobin in blood pulsating through a network of capillaries. And now I don't know why, for some reason, I read an article, maybe because of the pandemic, about how a pulse oximeter works and how they were challenged to make it work for everyone, right? And it was a very interesting article about how they had to overcome like the challenges of everybody is different, right? Like they put it on your finger and they give you, it gets your good reading. So how do they differentiate between a person that has thicker skin and just all of those things? Like imagine how is it that one pulse oximeter works on everyone, and it just went into all of the things that they had to take in consideration for it to work for everyone universally. So that is a good read. If you can read it, go ahead and read it if you're interested in that stuff. Very, very interesting, and I really liked it. I thought I would mention that to you guys. Maybe some of you might read it. I don't remember what it is, but I'm pretty sure if you can look up like history of a pulse oximeter, you will be able to find that article or some similar information. All right, so moving on to number 8, and is blood, blood. I'm sorry, blood. Oh, hold on. Why does it say glucose? Blood, yeah. Blood glucose monitor. I don't know. Glucose blood monitor. And the translation for it is medidor de glucemia. Can you guys see that? Oh man, I'm having problems here. Alright, there it is. Medidor de glucemia. And I'm gonna be honest, if you go ahead and say medidor de glucemia to someone, I bet you like 99% of the time they're not gonna know what you're talking about. So I would actually say medidor de glucosa or medidor de azúcar en la sangre for people to be able to understand it much better. But of course, medidor de glucemia is the correct term. And what is a glucose blood monitor? A blood glucose meter. See, that's weird. I don't know why I wrote it glucose blood monitor, because to me it should be blood glucose monitor. I'll have to figure that out. I'll give you an answer tomorrow, guys. I'm not gonna leave you with that. But yeah, blood glucose monitor. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. A blood glucose meter is a small portable machine that's used to measure how much glucose, a type of sugar, is in the blood, also known as a blood glucose level. People with diabetes often use a blood glucose meter. See? Yeah, it should be blood glucose meter. Sorry, guys. To help them manage their condition. I don't know what I was thinking when I read that. But anyways, this is like the monitor that people with diabetes use to know their blood glucose level to see if their sugar level is high. Sometimes that they need a higher level of insulin, or if it's too low and they need to raise their blood sugar, right? And that is one thing, since diabetes is one of those diseases that is one of the major diseases in the world. You are going to need to know what a blood glucose monitor is and how to interpret that in your target language, because there's a lot of people with diabetes out there. All right, and number 9, syringe or jeringa in Spanish. And a syringe is a tube with a nozzle and piston or bulb for sucking in and injecting liquid in a thin stream, used for cleaning wounds or body cavities, or fitted with a hollow needle for injecting or withdrawing fluids. Now, they can be used for a lot of things, but most of the time we are going to be seeing them with vaccines, right? They're like the thing that they use to inject the vaccine with. It can be a flu vaccine, it can be a Rona vaccine, it can be any type of vaccine, but that is a syringe. That is the instrument that the doctors use to inflict those traumatic events on little kids that actually are good for them in the long run, right? All right, and number 10, crutches or muletas in Spanish. Now, crutches are a long stick with a cross piece at the top, used as a support under the armpit by a person with an injury or disability. And we get to see this a lot, like whenever someone has a broken leg or something, you see them walking around with them things like right here. Those are crutches, and it helps them to get around and not put any weight on the injured leg to allow it to recover, right? So that is it. Those are the 10 words for today, the 10 must-know medical instruments. Please leave all of your questions and comments please have all of your questions on the comments, and I will answer some of them on the next session. If anything is time sensitive, please leave some in the comments so that I can get to that question right away. Remember, I'll be here every Monday through Friday after work. And I need to remind you guys that we are trying to get that video that is titled "Prepare for the CCHI" to 100 likes, so we can release the MIP 21 video to YouTube. So please guys, help us out with that. We really want to share this video with you. We want to hear what you think. That way we can give a chance to 2 of our viewers that put a comment on that video to be able to get some feedback from us, right? So yeah, let's get on that. I'm pretty sure we can do it. And remember that we also have a Patreon page where with as little as just $1 of your support, you help motivate us to create much more content, and you have access to all of the content that is there: medical practice videos ad-free, scripts, answer sheets, vocabulary lists, and much more content. And most importantly, you win a place inside of our heart, right? A shout out to all of our patrons, we love you. And a shout out to everyone that has bought us a coffee, and also a shout out to all of our subscribers. We really love you. We really hope we can create this into a much bigger interpreting community. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe the video if you have not done so for much more content, and don't forget to share. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.